As you guys just saw, I went ahead and reassembled the suspension of the drift truck. Coilovers are back in, hubs are back in, brakes are back on, steering rack is back in. I went ahead and raised the truck about 2 inches in the front, so when we put the engine in there, it's sitting nice and level. I think I might have lifted it a bit too much because it's like a frickin' trophy truck up front here. But with an engine and transmission, it should sit an inch and a half lower than this. We might have to adjust it a little bit. Those coilovers look pretty sweet in here, nice and green. I flipped the outer tie rods upside down, so now the tie rod angle is pretty much level. It will be level with an engine in here. We'll get rid of any bumps there that we might have had, and will also help us get a little bit more angle. Angle mods coming eventually. Today we are focusing on providing the engine with fuel. Obviously, the stock fuel pump, which fed the 85 horsepower 2.2 liter, isn't gonna quite cut it for the V8. So I have an upgraded fuel pump to install. I also have a fuel pressure regulator. The fuel tank on this truck is a feed and return system. The fuel rails on the engine are just a feed system. So we have to have a fuel pressure regulator coming out of the fuel lines that gives the fuel rails of the engine an exact, accurate fuel pressure. Now to install an upgraded fuel pump on this truck, you've got two options. You can either drop the fuel tank, or you can take off the bed. I filled up the fuel tank right before I did the engine swap. So there's about 18 gallons worth of 87 octane in that tank. It's kind of heavy. So I think we're gonna go ahead and try to lift the bed up and then get access to the fuel tank that way. So there's pretty much gonna be, I think, like 10 or so bolts that connect the frame of the truck to the bed, and then obviously the tail lights, well actually I think that's it, the tail lights, and then the fuel filler neck. And then the bed should come off. About time to fix this, eh? Got the fuel filler neck off, so this is the last thing. There we go. Heck. Alright, that's dope. That's really, really cool. Look at this. This is why body on frame vehicles are so sweet. It literally took me like half an hour to completely unbolt the bed. Super simple, super easy. Now I can reach everything. It's really cool looking without a bed on it. Makes it look a lot smaller, and it's really sick, honestly. Really makes me want to turn into like a death guard. This is probably how we're gonna have to make the roll cage and some other stuff. You get to see this beautiful axle, and then there's the fuel tank right there. Eventually, we do want to move the fuel tank to right here and do a custom fuel cell, because that puts more weight towards the back. But as you can tell, the axle does indeed clear the fuel tank right now. Just barely, but it does. It's so cool to be able to just like stand in the chassis of your truck. It's definitely more than half full. I'm glad I didn't try to drop this tank. And look at all these hoses that I would have had to try to disconnect while dropping it. That would have been a pain. It was actually a pretty big fuel pump. Well, I guess I can't really go by looks, can I? So I'm gonna be 100% honest. I got a fuel pump for an LS powered car. Supposedly it's a really good pump, has enough fuel, and yeah, it looks a lot smaller than the factory one though, so we might not have needed to do this. This is actually a car-specific kit too, so I'm hoping I can make it work with the with this. so the new fuel pump is in. I had to modify the actual housing. I attached it with a hose clamp. I should probably take the sticker off, otherwise it's gonna dissolve. Fuck, of course. I had to provide it with a new ground, which I soldered, and a power wire, which I soldered. It's a little sketchy working with wiring in a fuel pump, because if there's any sort of spark, you're going kaboom. So that's why all these connections are soldered, and they are connected with heat shrink and wrapped in this factory like heat shrink stuff. Should be good. It looks like it just needed a power on the ground, and it's got a power on the ground. The feed is in the right place. Hose is connected. I'd hate if we went to start the engine and then, oh, for some reason our fuel pump's not working because I did something wrong, but I think I did everything right. We'll see. I think it's time to put it back in, and then we can work on the pressure regulator. It's in. It's in. So the fuel pump is in. Please work, don't blow up. And I went ahead and modified the rear brake line to bypass this. This is a little control-y thingy that regulates how much brake fluid goes into the rear axle, because it used to have drum brakes. But now, since it's got disc brakes, we don't need this. Instead of letting all the fluid in at once, it kind of like let a little bit in at a time, which obviously made the pedal slowly go down. So that wasn't good. Now it is time to drop the bed back on. Bed is back on. We're keeping the taillights out because I did finally order new taillights. Okay, fuel pressure regulator. We've got our fuel lines down here. The fuel lines are gonna come up on top of that to like right here. So I want to mount it somewhere like so, right? Rev nuts for the win, boy! So we have a pressure regulator there. We have to put our fittings on. This right here is the feed. Fuel goes in to this one right here. This is the feed to the fuel line, the fuel rail. Then this down there is the fuel return. And we need our hose barbs. It's kind of hard to tell, but 3 hose barbs. Gonna run the lines nicely tomorrow once I get fuel line. Oh, but wait, O'Reilly's ordered the wrong fuel line. So I don't have any fuel line today, so I can't finish the fuel system. I was also forgetting the fuel filter. I forgot that I removed the stock fuel filter, which sat right next to where the fuel pressure regulator is. So I went ahead, ordered some fuel line, some fuel fittings, and a fuel filter off of Summit. All of that will be here Friday. Oh, and Axel is playing with a fly. He quite likes bugs. And he's quite good at killing them too. The rest of the fuel stuff is coming Friday. We'll get the fuel system all sorted out. After we do that, the engine can go in for its final time, hopefully. The other thing that's arriving Friday is the transmission kit. So we can finally put the transmission on. So early next week, the truck should be ready to go off, get the headers made, and then it's ready to get wired up, and then it's done after I make the exhaust. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, even though it was kind of short because of O'Reilly's. Believe it or not, this is actually the first time I ever worked with a fuel pump. So I think it went pretty well. Hopefully everything works. Hopefully nothing blows up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you guys are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I can't wait to get this drift truck done and ripping. It's gonna be so fun. If you guys want to help support the channel, go check out the link in the description to buy some air fresheners, and check out the link in the description to go check out the gaming channel, where I'm posting a gaming video every day. I'm not posting a video on this channel. That's it, guys. Thank you again, and peace out. Bye-bye.